Okay, today I'm going to talk about navigation, the traditional navigation, and how we started out teaching it to the students in the traditional way of doing it. First we started out learning the 4 topics before we can move on to the rest of the topics and complete them. Knowing that navigation cannot just be learned by a few months or what, but I always stay with 1 year. A long time ago, with our ancestors, they teach for years and years and years, and I don't know why they do that, but I think it's because our ancestors before, they're really deep in with this knowledge that they were checking whoever is learning from them, whether they really wanted to take the knowledge or just for something that it's not meaningful. And another contribution to it is they also look at what the learners or the students would give them in terms of local things that they have to pay for their learnings, and they always watch whether it is the things they give are satisfying their needs or what. And also they observe the personality of each of the students, whether they're really caring and all that, that they will make sure that they hold the knowledge in a safe way. So when we do it, I look at it, and I was, when I study it, I went through that years and years with learning these things. But then I have created my own thinking to make it more easier for the students to just go for a year and then they complete. And so we put up all these topics that we teach in navigation. Actually, there are over 20 topics, but usually we pick the mains that we could just stay on it for the 1 year, so we ended up having 17 topics, which I think covers almost everything in the navigational way. But there are the 4 main topics that we used to start out with, and they are the basic learning of traditional navigation. You cannot just come and then jump to one topic that you're not supposed to have it, because there are some that you will start out with it until you reach that topic. Without these 4 topics, they are the keys of learning, and they hold everything. So once you get through with these 4 topics, it is much easier for you to know what we are teaching to you in the other topics. Because once you go through the 4 topics, it's like opening up your mind and your hearts, and then you know exactly when we teach you, it's easy for you to learn. So the first topic that I'm going to talk about is the naming of all the navigational stars. As for us, in the traditional way, we always started out from the east. And we take it from the east, going to one side and going around the star compass all the way to reach again the east. So we make sure that our students will learn the names of all the navigational stars that we are using. So when we start out, we tell them the names of the stars starting from east, which is Maila. When we say east, it's just all the stars starting from the east, going on both sides, coming down to the south and north, and then that's the line that crosses from south to north. Everything above to the east, everything above this line are the rising of all those stars that we are teaching them, and everything below is the setting of all those stars that rises from the east and sets below sits in the west, which is all below the line crossing from north to south or south to north. So when we name the stars, we teach them, we tell them Terag Mailak, Terag Payug, Carolinian, Terag Sarwan, Terag Tumur, Terag metaw, Terag Machmeya, Warwadu. Now you start from east all the way to the south now, coming down to south. And then you go below south, these are the ones that are the setting. So you start out continuing down from below the south, you say Machmeto, Tubur, Tubur metaw, Tubur Tumur, Tubur Sarwan, Tubur Eriod, Tubur Payug, Tubur Mailak. So now you're straight at the west. And then from west all the way up north. So you say Paifang, Ur, Margar, Mer, Ibrik, Wada, Tubur Mail Pelfang, and what would it Fisumal. So now you reach north. So all from the south, all the way up to the north are all the settings of the stars. And now you come up from north up to the east. So you say Terag Man Perfan, Terag Wura, Terag Ibrik, Terag Mer, Terag Margar, Terag Wood, Terag Paifang, Red Mailap. You reach again the Mailap, which is straight east. And the stars, the Terag Mailap is called the Altair, and that's the rising of the Altair, and the setting of Altair is the Tubur Mailap. And so Payo Peda Aquila. Then Elion, the star Elion, in English I think they call it the Orion's belt, the Elion. Then the Sarapul, Tumur is the scorpion. And then metaw is the tail of the scorpion, the one that comes down and then curve up like a hoop with two stars at the end of the barb of the hoop. And that's the one we call it metaw. Tagalog, it's the Southern Cross straight on top of the water when you look at it. And then Machmeya, it's the Southern Cross 45 degrees leaning to the east. Look, which is now the Southern Cross, that's straight up. That's why we say look. Machmeya, it's the Southern Cross at 45 degrees leaning to the west. Tubuluk is the setting of that Southern Cross. And so metaw is the tail again. And then Tumur, the scorpion again. So it is just follow like that. So this is the first basic learning. We keep on repeating it to them and then test them out to name it by themselves, the students, until I feel comfortable that they can just, when I ask one of them to tell me the name of the stars, navigational stars, they just say it out in line and never miss it. And that's what I call it good, because they finally get to memorize it. And so we move to the second topic, basic topic, which is Gashoum Sepeig. And this time you only name the stars from the rising and the setting of that same stars. So that's what we call it, Gashoum Sepeig. It's only one-sided because we only name the rising of that star and the setting of that same star. So that's how we do it, starting from whether you want to start out from straight in the middle like east and west, or you start from the like north, coming all the way to west. Because if you do it like that, then you just say Tagal mail perfang, tubur mail perfang, tagal wada, tubur wada, tagal ibrig, tubur ibrig, tagal mad, tubur mad, tagal margar, tubur margar, tagal wood, tubur wood, tagal paifang, tubur paifang, tagal mailap, tubur mailap, tagal payur, tubur payur, tagal earlier, tubur earlier, tagal sarbor, tubur sarbor, tagal tumur, tubur tumur, tagal metaw, tubur metaw, tagal tuburuk, machmaya, machmarto. So you see, of course, that's rising and setting. And so I'm calling, what I'm just doing now is calling the name, the rising of this star and the setting of these stars. And it comes to the next rising and setting and go all the way until we reach south. So this is the second topic, and that we make sure that when we teach, they have to know it. They have to remember and memorize them very good. Then on to the third topic. The third topic is called the Gashoum Ruepeig, and that is the pairing of the stars, like what you call from the south and the pair from the north. So this is what we call it, Gashoum Ruepeig. The other one is Gashoum Sepeig, and this one is Gashoum Ruepeig. Because when you do it, you're calling this star here and the pair from the north. So you call from the south and the pair from the north. And that's when we teach it, we say Tagal mailap, tubur mailap, meaning rising of mailap, the pair is the setting of mailap. Rising of payur, setting of paifang. That's the pair from you go this way, south, from above, and you go from west to north. That's how you pair them. So, tagal earlier, tubur ur, tagal sarbor, tubur margar, tagal tumur, tubur mer, tagal metaw, tubur ur, tagal tubur gudig, tagal tubur ur, tagal machmaya, tubur mahal perfang, wala rup, wala fish mahal. And so it goes down like that, because you're pairing all those stars. It's a little, I find it a little hard for the students to pick these very easy, but as we go, each of these topics should be taught within a month or maybe less than a month in order for them to really pick up everything. And so that's why when we go over these topics, then we come back again and repeat. So they will keep everything. And that's within the 1 year, they already hold on to all those things. This one I'm going to talk about is called the Gemat. And before I go on, I just like to explain how we come up with this board. Because way back, our navigators just lay out the mat, we put the stones in them, and then we started learning. And so for me, as I have been teaching navigation, and I study it, and I think this is the more easiest way for my students to learn. So we created this board and then put all the navigational stars in it, even the waves, the navigational waves that we are also observing. And then we have the canoe in the middle. So this topic now is called Amat, and that is using the 4 components of the canoe, which is the front, the back, the outrigger, the mouth of the outrigger arms, and the mouth of these 2 supporter under the leeward side platform going on. As you see, this is a canoe, and that's how we do what a canoe it looks like. So now, as you will look at it, when we do this Amat, how we teach our students is, okay, front of my canoe is facing straight east. Then the back, you will know that edge facing to the west, straight west. And then the star that's supposed to be in the mouth of this outrigger arms is the North Star. And in this one is the Southern Cross. So this is the rising of the altar, the front, setting of the altar, which is west, and that is where the canoe is pointing now. And also what star you have for the mouth of the outrigger arms, and what star you have, which is the Southern Cross here, and the Polaris here. Then this is how, if you are sailing up east, and it is a north wind, the wind is coming from north, so your outrigger, of course, is going to be facing north, and this leeward side platform will be facing south, while the front is straight east and the back is straight west. And so if for some reason the wind changes direction, this is when a straight wind coming from north, this is how the canoe will up. But if the wind is kind of coming from here, where your target is here, the island that you're sailing to, but then the wind is not that good that you cannot steer straight. Let's say if the canoe is pointing to that star over there, that's Pafius there. We call it Pafius. So you know for sure that if your front of your canoe is pointing to the star, the rising of Pafius, you know for sure that the back of your canoe is pointing right to the setting of Paifang, which is the pair of Pafius. And then, of course, you know that the star, which is Southern Cross before, this one will be this star here, which we call metaw, and here it will be, the star will be pointing in between the outrigger arms, is going to be Tagal Mail Palfang. As in Lamotrek, we say Tagal Mail Palfang or metaw, but Sarawalese, they say Tan Mail Palfang, and that metaw. So we're saying on that. See, you know, for the 4 components of the canoe, you know, every time, so if you're in the ocean, it's just like this. When the star rises in the night time, as you said, if you know that your canoe is pointing that under one star, you know what the pair is from the west. But going south, then the pair from the west will be going north. So let's say now we move again, for example, to that star, which is Elion. Now, the front is pointing straight to Elion, and now the back is pointing straight to Ur. And then star in between the outrigger will be Tubur. And then star here will be Tukurup, straight in from here. So you see, when you put them in your head like nighttime while you're sailing, you know exactly where you are. You know where the canoe is pointing and what star is on your side there, what star is on this side, and what star is in the back. You have to make sure you learn that. So it contains you on. Same thing goes as the canoe is turning turning, turning, but still the same. If you are pointing to that star there, in front of your canoe is pointing to that star, of course the back is pointing to this one here. And we have names for all these that I mentioned in the first level of learning, the names of all these stars. So it is, no matter where your canoe is pointing, you have to know what star is pointing to, what star will be at your back, and what star in the mouth of the outrigger, and at the same time also in the mouth of the supporter under the platform on the leeward side of the canoe. So this is how we teach this level, but it goes around the clock. That's how we teach the students, so they can memorize. Like, instead of looking at this board, they can just say, okay, front of my canoe is pointing to the east, which is, they don't say this is east, but call the star right at the east, which is metaw, the altar. And then they can call the one that is at the back of the canoe, which is the setting of the altar. And then at the same time, because if you start out like that, yeah, then of course the North Star, the Polaris, is right in between the two outrigger arms, while Southern Cross is right here. And so it goes on. Now, I guess you guys will understand, but I'm going to talk about the topic called Bugloa. And Bugloa is connecting the waves, how you connect waves. Now, if you see my board here, you will see these green color. These are the waves. They go here, here, down, straight, go up, straight up, and then come back, and then straight here. And if you see these green colors, they are the navigational waves that we connect while out in the open sea. And this wave, straight coming down straight from the east, is called lapalaap. This one is very visible, and it is always there every time. You can see a wave that is, as you are out in the open sea, you will see that one that rolls down from straight east, which rolls down from under the star metaw. So that's the one we call it lapalaap. The one that rolls from the northeast coming is also very visible, and this is the wave that we call it lapu-lapu. While here, the wave here that you see with the green color coming straight from the north is not that visible. You will never see this. Or the one here coming from southeast or south, or the southwest, northwest, or even west. They're hard for you to see it, unless you can only see them when the wind shifted to that direction, and then you can see them, because it really is visible to us. But about these two, because here we are in the Carolinian Islands and in Micronesia, we usually have the trade winds. So from the trade wind comes down to the westerly, which is starting in July and then on. June and July, usually the wind is variable. It turns around, but very weak. It comes from south, stop, and comes from the north or east or west or northeast and southeast, southwest, north, west. So that one is, but when it comes to August, then that's when the wind really shifted down to west, and then it usually comes up from southwest. And that's when all these waves that we connect are becoming very visible to us if you are on a voyage. So how you connect a wave to know where your heading is? Okay, let's say, since I said it's usually it is usually trade wind, so the outrigger, of course, will be facing east, because the wind is coming from northeast. Wherever the wind comes from is where our outrigger is. And so now let's say, for example, you're sailing north. So the two visible waves, the one straight down from the east. No. Here, I'm sorry. I put up that one, but yes. Okay. This is how your canoe is supposed to be positioned when you're sailing north, and then the wind is coming from northeast. So either northeast or somewhere here, all up to east. And then you know that you got good wind to sail north. And so your outrigger arm, of course, is always facing the wind. And then now you watch it, because that wave that I tell you that it's the lapalaap coming straight from down from east, or the metaw, will roll down and hit your canoe on the outrigger, straight on the outrigger, and comes into the middle as the outrigger kind of go up and down. Then the wave is already underneath this platform and hit the side of the canoe straight in the middle. While this one coming from the northeast will be coming and hit your canoe right on this side, the outrigger side, but close to the front. So you see that one is coming down and one is coming from here. So where they connect is when this one comes hit from there, this one hits from here. Then you know for sure that if that is the course you're taking straight north, that means if the two waves are hitting exactly on the position on the canoe, it means you're still on course. But let's say if you alter the course, if you're going up straight somewhere here, you're steering to the star Terag. So now the waves coming straight down from metaw will be hitting right close to the front of your canoe and in front of this outrigger, all the way to this front of that. While this one, that's when they really connect on the side. They will be connected on the side and hit. So if your course is supposed to be going straight north, then if the both waves connect on the front side of your canoe, it means you're off course, and then you have to tell them, okay, steer more to, and then straight north, the wave will hit the same position as they are. So that is how you can tell that you're off course, and you're on course, and all that. But we make sure we connect these waves to know how we should steer our canoe. Okay, now moving into the other topic, which is called Ofaliue and bugoff. These are two topics that we combine because it is naming a star for each island, and then which is the Ofaliue, and then comes in bugoff, a star for each of the marks out there in the open seas, such as insects, birds, fish, all kinds of fish, whales, submerged reefs, and all that. Those are what we call marks out there in the ocean, and that is what we call it bugoff. So this topic always merge together, Ofaliue and bugoff, because one is naming the star for each island and one is naming the star for each of the marks, so they go together. We just combine them. So let us start it out on Mworal, because Mworal is just about 90 miles southwest of Iite. So if we have to do the Ofaliue for Mworal, then coming in from Mworal, being on Mworal, coming to Iite is if you sail from Mworal to go to Iite, what star you're using. So this is the star. This is the right star. So it's the Terag Olego. Galweshil is a star that Yap lies under from Mulu when you're in Mulu. So you sail to this star, this is Yap. And then at the same time there is a submerged reef in the same direction all the way, which is called the Hunter's Bank. We call it Gashoum Sepeig. And so when you come from Mulu using the Tagalog, you can still continue on from Tagalog, from Yap, all the way to that submerged reef, Hunter's Bank. Okay, the next island will be for, this is the submerged reef, Hunter's Bank. Then we go up to Tagalog. So this is where Iite is. Leaving Mulu to sail to Iite, you are using the star called Mworal, which is the Vega in English. And then from Mulu to Iite, it's the Vega that you're sailing toward. And then going to Fius, then you have to go under the star called Mworal, which is the Pleiades or something, yeah. In English they call it Pleiades, or I'm not really sure, but I think it's the right one. But as we call it, Mworal. So these are all from Mulu to these islands, like submerged reef, and Iite from submerged reef, and we move up to Iite, then we move up to Fius. And now sailing from Mulu, now toward the star Ur, this is, you're going straight to Sorol. So this is the star for the island of Sorol if you are coming from Mulu. And then moving all the way to Mylap, that is the star, the Mylap, which is the altar, is what you should use from Mulu in order to get you to Waliay. So you got all the way there. And then coming to the star Etag, this is going from Mulu, following the star Etag, is taking you to the island of Ruepeig. So that is the star you use from Mulu in order for you to sail to Ruepeig, which is the Etag. And then going under Sarbol, that is the Sarbol over there, and that is taking you to another mark, which is a submerged reef called Untitled. Then you sail from Mulu, following the star Tumur. You're sailing to another mark, and it's also a submerged reef called Uruba. And then you sail from Mulu, following that star metaw. You're sailing to a star, to another mark, submerged reef called Mworal. And then Tagalog, you sail, this is just still out from Mulu. So when you sail from Mulu and you follow that star Tagalog, you're coming to a mark which is a submerged reef with a trevally circling on top of it. Oran Nangumal, called Oran Nangumal. Then from Mulu to following that star, Machmayat, you're also going to another submerged reef called Oraran. Then sailing from Mulu straight south. Now you will be coming up on another submerged reef called Orad. Now from Mulu, you take the star Machmalto. This means you're heading to an island called Sintefis. This island is somewhere near Matang and those Indonesian islands. Call it Sintefis. Then you go using that star. This is Machmalto, and this is Tupuluk, the setting of the triggerfish. And if you sail from Mulu following the setting of the triggerfish, you are heading straight to Sonsorol. Make sure you know that this is your trip out from Mulu. So you're heading to Sonsorol, following that Tupuluk. Now you sail under the setting of metaw. The setting of Tupul metaw. That means you are sailing straight from Mulu to one island. We call it Ofaliue, but I think the American says Hallen Reef. Now, from Mulu, taking the setting of earlier, you are sailing from Mulu straight to Palau. Says that's the star that Palau lies under. And then sailing from Mulu straight down to the setting of the altar or the Mailat, we call it Mailat, you're sailing straight to the island called Rot. This is in southern Philippines. And then on Mulu, taking the star Ul. Ul is no, not Ul, but Mugargar. Move to Mugargar. It means you're sailing from Mulu to Kiwan. We call it Kiwan. It's one of the islands in the southern Philippines also. Then sailing from Mulu, taking the star Vega, a setting of Vega, what we call Mud, Tupul Mud. Then you're going to this mark called Nem. Nem is not an island but a bunch of what are these algae? Yeah, algae that are floating. They're all attached to each other, floating on the water in the same place. That is what we call Nem. If you sail from Mulu, taking the star setting of Vega, you're coming up on this mark. Now, you take the star setting of Iguli, or the tail of the big fish, the Gemat. I really don't know the name in English for this Iguli, but if you take that star all the way, then you come to another mark called Suguyaf. And Suguyaf is a bird, a white bird with a long tail, and it just circling in that area. And so if you ever come up on this bird, then you make sure that you take this star here, metaw, in order for you to turn your canoe and go back up taking metaw, and then you will be coming up and be in Mworal. So this is the Ofaliue and bugoff for Mworal. Now we're going to move to Yap. Okay, for Yap, we also being in Yap, you take the star, you're going to the Hunter's Bank, a submerged reef about 20-some miles north of here. But this is the star that you take in order for you to get there to fish. So this is the rising of the Big Dipper. Now, from here all the way to Iite, from Yap to Iite, this is Yap. Mworal is the one we finished. Now this is Yap. So sailing from Yap to Iite, the star you should take is the rising of Ul. It's the rising of Ul. I forgot the name of this in English, but that is the star you should follow. And from Yap to Fius, you're heading up to Fius, you go straight up to the, using the metaw, which is the rising of the altar, and that's the star that will take you from Yap all the way to Fius. And then oh, this is east, huh? Yeah, metaw. This is yeah, this is metaw, the one that takes you to Fius, and then now that one, Sarvul, the star Sarvul. In Yap, you will be taking this star. You're sailing under this star, you're going straight to Mworal and Ruepeig. Using the same star, you can get to Mworal and you can get to Ruepeig, the star called Sarvul. Now, going all the way down to Bugloa. That is the star that you take from Yap in order for you to get to Mworal. That's Bugloa. Then getting to Sarvul, the setting of Sarvul, that will take you straight to Palau. This one here, the star Sarvul. This is what you will use to take you to Palau. Then comes setting of Elion, that will take you to Roth, the southern island of Philippines, mentioned in Mworal's Ofaliue and bugoff also. And then going straight down, sailing straight down from Yap west, that will get you to the Philippines. And from Philippines back up to Yap, you just take the opposite. Take the rising of metaw. Using setting of metaw to go from Yap to Philippines, then the rising of metaw to take you back to Yap. And this is how we teach. So this one is just for example, so you guys know what each island have their stars, that when we teach the students on the Ofaliue and bugoff, then we will move to the next island and do the same thing here, but with different stars, because different locations, their positions are in different locations. and it continues on to all the islands until we cover every single islands that we have in our so-called Ofaliue and bugoff. So I guess I have explained everything now. You will know with the rest of the Ofaliue and bugoff, this is exactly what you do when we teach our students. Okay, at this time we're going to explain the topic of Etag and liupengag. It is something I'm not really sure on how I should explain the Etag, because Etag is a measurement that if you depart, let's say, for example, this is Lamotrak, this is Satawal, and this is your liupengag, which is Westfalia. This is what you use for your reference island, Westfalia. So Etag is something, it's a measurement that contains some miles in it, because Etag is like leaving Lamotrak to go to Satawal, and as soon as Lamotrak disappear from sight, you call it one Etag. That's already one Etag. And remember that okay, this is your reference island, so Lamotrak to the reference island and Satawal to the reference island. So on Satawal, you look at Westfalia under the star Tubul Mail Perfang. So it's Tubul Mail Perfang. And Tubul Mail Perfang is the setting of that Mail Perfang. So that is from Satawal to Westfalia, which is, you set it as your reference island. Now from Lamotrak, from Lamotrak to Westfalia, it is the star Terag. So, oh sorry, this is, Tubul Mail Perfang. And looking at Westfalia from Lamotrak, it is under the star of Terag. Okay, so you see the Mail Perfang, and then Mworal fius Margaret, which is straight north, and then comes Mworal fius Margaret, Terag Mail Perfang, Terag Terag this Iguli. So it is only 4 Etag between Satawal and Lamotrak. Only 4 Etag. Because if you sail up from Lamotrak, and then when it disappears, you call it 1 Etag. And that means Westfalia, your reference island, instead of being under Terag will be moving down to Terag whatever. You see, because as you come up, and then the star from Lamotrak to this reference island will start moving down. So that's why it moves from Terag to Terag. Now, you know that the reference island is moving from Terag, which is from Lamotrak, and now it's going down to Terag. Now, if the same wind strength that you were taking out, knowing how many hours that this island disappeared, so let's say, for example, you said 3 hours, and the wind maintains its strength, then you go another 4 hours, because 4 hours you take from the land to this point, and then the island disappear. So now you take another 4 hours out. Now you move again West Fiu from Tagalula to Tagalmayr Panfang. And then another one up. Then you move again the reference island from Tagalmayr Panfang to straight north. Now this one is in straight north. And then move another one here. The reference island is moving down to Tubul Malpalfang. And when you're on Sarawal, you look at West Fiu under Tubul Malpalfang. So here are the 1, 2, 3, 4, you're on land. Because you already, just with 4 hours, you make all that finish, and the fourth one, which is the last one, you're already on the island in Sarawak. So you know that the reference island, if you go up, it moves down from the star that you see it on Lamotra. Now, in the same way, if you're going down from Sarawak, West Fiu is under Tubul Malpalfang. So as you complete one Etag, it moves from Tubul Malpalfang to Walawala Fius, which is the North Star. Then you take another 4 hours, another Etag, it moves from Walawala Fius up to Tagalmayr Palfang. Then you move another one, you move it from Tagalmayr Palfang to Tagalwala. And now, getting down another 4 hours, now the reference island is moving toward the star, which it lies under from Lamotra while you're on Lamotra. So going back to Lamotra, then this, when you're at the island, the reference island West Fiu is already under Tagal Igulig. And Igulig, when you're in Lamotra, you look at West Fiu under the star, Tagal Igulig. When you're on Sarawal, you look at it under the star of Tubul Malpalfang. So going up, the reference island going down. Going down, the reference island go up. But you already know what star, once you reach here, it's already under the Igulig. So this is how we make. But to be more very accurate and clear, you have to have the diagram of the Etag, so you know how you use the Etag in between islands. Also making sure that we have the reference island set aside, so that's the one you will be knowing your measurement on moving it from star to star. So this is what we call Etag and liupengag. Actually, the Etag is the distance from your point of departure all the way to the place that this island disappeared. So that's what we call Etag. Once the islands disappear, each one Etag already, and that contains some miles in it. And so liupengag is the reference island. That is the reference island that you're moving it from star to star. And always know that when I'm on Sarawal, this is the star for this reference island. When I'm on Lamotrek, this is the star to this island. So when you sail in between, it's just a matter of moving the reference island around, either down or up. When you go up, you're moving down. When you go down, moving it back up. So this is how I should explain right now, just so you guys will understand. But we can sit down someday and if I am to teach, I have to really sit with the students to put down the star compass, and that will show you exactly and very easy to learn the way the Etag and the liupengag is. Okay, I think this is one easiest way, using the board again, to explain the Etag and liupengag. So you see, let's assume that this is lamu-trek and this is satawal. Because being on lamu-trek, you go to satawal by the star Pafius. Satawal is actually lies under, it's in between Mailap and Pafius, but in the Ofaliue and bugoff we call it Pafius, just lie under Pafius. So on Satawal, in order for you to get to lamu-trek, you take the star Paifang, Tubul, the setting of Paifang. Now, from lamu-trek to Satawal, you take the star Pafius, rising of Pafius, in order for you to get to Satawal. So let's assume that Satawal is here and lamu-trek is here. Okay, now checking for your reference island. Now, from lamu-trek to Westfalia, which we talk about, that's the best reference island to use between lamu-trek and Satawal. On lamu-trek, this is the star, which is Iblig, this one. Looking at the reference island from lamu-trek, the reference island, which is Westfalia, lies under the star of rising of Iblig. Now, at the same time, and then on Satawal, being on Satawal, you know that Westfalia lies under Tubul Mahal Palfang from Satawal. So you see, lamu-trek to the reference island, Westfalia, you look at it under the star Iblig. When you're in Satawal, you look at the reference island, which is Westfalia, under this star Tubul Mahal Palfang. Now, you're trying to leave lamu-trek to go up to Satawal, steering straight with good wind, so you were heading up towards Satawal. Now as you go, once lamu-trek disappear from sight, then instead of having the reference island, which is under this star, you're going up, it goes back down to when one Etag is complete, when the island disappears. Now, Westfalia, instead of lying under Terag, is now coming down to Carolinian. And then you check how many hours it took you from the point of departure to the place where the island disappeared. And you check your clock. Before, we just estimate our time from the sun. But nowadays with the watch, it is very simple and easy. So, from point of departure to the place where you cannot see lamu-trek anymore, maybe you see it as 4 hours or so. Now 4 hours is one Etag, because the island just disappeared. So you know that, okay, now I am breaking the line of stars. I break one line of star already, meaning this reference island under Carolinian will move now to Carolinian. And then if the same wind is still there, like it is going with the same strength, you take another 4 hours heading up towards Satawal. and then equal it to Etag. And now you're moving it from Terag. Now the reference island moves down to Terag. Then you proceed another 4 hours. You move the reference island from Terag to Mworal which is the North Star. And then now you are on Etag, the Etag that we are looking out for the island. And so as you proceed to go for the 4 more hours, then the reference island moves all the way down, and you can, from here you can see Satawal, and then as it exactly lies under Tubulmay Perfa, that means you're on the reef. You're already arriving in Satawal, because the reference island looking at from Satawal is under Tubulmay Perfa. In the same way, when you leave Satawal, you know that West Fius is under Tubulmay Perfa. So as you go down, same wind, good wind, you're steering straight, and then same strength, proceed. When the island Satawal disappeared, you know that, okay, I'm moving from Tubulmay Perfa back up to the North Star, and then another 4 hours, it goes up to Terag. And then another 4 hours, it moves up to Terag. And then moving it from Terag, as you come, move down maybe between 2 hours or what, you will spot the island of Lamutred. Because as soon as the reference island get up under the star Igli, that's exactly what star from Lamutred that we look at it, West Fius from Lamutred, Terag, which is right here. So now the reference island is back to its position, whereas you're already on the island. Okay, today we are going to talk about the topic of Iite metaw. Iite metaw means naming the sea lanes. This is another requirement. When you learn navigation, you have to know Iite metaw, the name of all sea lanes, because that is also contribute to navigation, part of navigation. Let's say when you sail out, you know the sea lane you're coming out in, and then you were hit by a storm, then you drift out the storm, thinking that you're still in that sea lane, but you're already moving to other sea lane. So sometimes navigators try to think that they are still in that sea lane, and when they try to continue their voyage, they're still using what they navigate on in that sea lane, but not knowing that they're already in another sea lane. So they should have used the stars from that sea lane in order to get to the destination. So that's why it is very important, and they call it metaw. Metaw is when you're drifting for a long time and you're in other sea lane, and then we started to review back on what sea lane we came out from. Then they said brothering the sea lanes, meaning put them as brothers, so we know how to figure our way out from the other to our destination. So Iite metaw is very, very important, because that's when we use the technique called metaw in it. So I'm going to start out from the sea lanes that us in the Carolinian Islands know the names and also how to sail them. So we started out from Manila to Papua New Guinea. The name of that sea lane is called metaw. That's Manila and PNG. It's called metaw. And the sea lane between Samar in the Philippines, to Sonsorol Sansorol in Palau is called metaw. And then we moved to Sansorol to Manus. The sea lane between Sansorol and Manus is called metaw. And then from there we move into the one for Palau to Manila. The name of the sea lane between Palau and Manila is metaw. We call it metaw. And then on to Palau and Yap. Of course, that one is metaw mal. Patch Palau and Yap. And then Yap to Manila. Yap to Manila is metaw. We call it metaw or metaw sileta. It has two names. And then Yap to Ngulu is metaw. Yap to Ngulu is metaw. Yap to Iite is metaw Ruepeig. Ngulu to Sorol is Falimar. And then Sorol to Yap is Walimar. And then Iite to Fius is metaw marafach. And then Iite to Sorol is metaw. And then Sorol to Ruepeig is metaw. And then Fius to Ruepeig is Falimor. Fius to Mworal is Mworal. And then Fius to Fachala is Mworal. And then Yap all the way to Saipan or Guam, or even through Pohnpei, Marshall to Guam, is metaw. It is called metaw. Now we move to Ruepeig and Mworal. The name of the sea lane between Ruepeig and Mworal is metaw. And then Mworal to Fachala is Fal Igomoto. And then Mworal to Ifluk is called Faliorma. And then Ifluk to Elato is Rapileru. And then Fachala to Fayo or Gafru is metaw. And then Fayo to Ifluk is Waliorma. Fachala to Mworal is metaw. And then Lamotrek to Mworal to Lamotrek is metaw. And then Lamotrek to West Fayo is Legra. And Mworal to West Fayo is Faligra. And then West Fayo to Gafru is Lugulugara. Now Lamotrek to Satawal is Oira. Satawal to West Fayo is metaw. And Satawal to Pikalot is metaw. Satawal to Polowat is Apilale. And then Pikalot to Polowat is metaw. And Polowat to Pulusuk is metaw. Same as Fachala and Ifluk is also metaw. And then Pulusuk to Mworal, the submerged reef, southwest of Polowat is called metaw. That sea lane between is metaw. And then Pulusuk to Westfalia is Ofaliue, and Pulusuk to Peak, which is the Pikelot, is Ofaliue, and Pulusuk to Satawal is Ofaliue. Pulusuk to Polowat, oh I already said this, metaw. Pulusuk to Tamatam, Duguliangi, Polap to Polowat, fius, Polap to Pisaraj, Ofaliue, and then Polowat to Ulol, Ofaliue Ruepeig, and Gafrut or Fayo to Polowat is the Mworalian. So that's about the sea lanes that we tell our students. Okay, now we're going to continue on the topic of, not continue, but we're going to talk about the topic of weather prediction, how we predict weather here. So usually the important thing to do is wake up early in the morning before dawn, and then find your place where you can really see it clear in the east, from east all the way to north. That's how you observe early in the morning, from east all the way to north, and then from east all the way to south. So what you observe early in the morning is we go out there to find out about the weather the next day, whether it'll be worth for sailing or cannot sail, or maybe just to look at if you're not going to sail, but just to see how the weather will be that day. So what we do is when we go out early in the morning, we observe the breaking of the dawn, and then you will see the clouds and how they flow up. Because if you see them, they are going up very fast, it means it's going to be very windy that day. And if you see them moving up good speed, then you know it's good for sailing. And if you see them just stay there stationary and hard to move up, you know the weather is really going to be very calm. You cannot sail because there would be no wind. Now we also look for the color. See the color of the clouds coming up, because colors are very important. When you see them coming up, turning red, you know it's rain. Rain is coming also. And if you see them coming up like pieces, like a puzzle, because small pieces with a little, the color of orange and a little bit light yellow, and if you see those pieces in the east, it means that it's also very nice weather. But then you also have to make sure you watch for, this is going to be, doesn't matter what time, but if you see it in the morning, noontime, or evening, or even nighttime, but if you see a cloud, a piece of cloud, that has a hole through it, it doesn't matter what shape of the cloud, whether a rectangle, a triangle, or just a round shape, but there should be a hole in the middle. And if you see through that hole very clearly, and then you can see the side, you can see the sky in it. The name of this type, we call it triggerfish. And triggerfish means very good weather. And then the second one that I'm talking about, that I said it's a little bit foggy in the hole with some clouds in it, it's still a good weather, and the name of that one is called Ruepeig. So those are the names of the clouds that you will see with the holes in. Now comes the worst one. Is it's still the same. You see a long rectangle shape or a round shape or just same as the other one, but you can see that there is a mouth, because at the end of that cloud it'll be open. If there is an opening that you see, look at it carefully and make sure that you see how big the mouth is open. If it's just a little open, that when you look at it and you can calculate your measurement, like if a human being stands in that opening, cannot fit, then don't worry about it. But if that opening goes up and you can tell that a person can stand right inside the mouth and can fit, that's the worst one, and you don't risk to go off sailing because it's really going to be a very bad weather. And that type is called, the name of it is Gemanne. So those are the types you look at it. You also look in the during the sunset. That's the second time you also predict the weather. In the sunset, you can tell where the wind is coming from, because you can see how the clouds are built, and then there will be like a V shape, or not really a V shape, really open, or V shape, or what. And you can see like smoke like the clouds that will be on the side, and you know that that's where. And then there are some line of clouds, skinny ones, from the bottom of that V up to the end, and then that's where the wind will hit the next day. So you know that if you see it in the southwest, that means the wind is going to come from the northeast, because that's where the impact is shown in the west. Same vice versa, going to the northwest or what. So that, as soon as you see that, you know, okay, the wind is going to shift to either southeast or northeast. And if you see it in the northwest, that means it's going to come, the wind is going to come the next day from the southeast. If you see it from the southwest, then you know the wind is coming from northeast, because what it shows you in the evening there is the impact of the wind the next day. And if you see it straight down west, you know that it's going to be easterly wind straight down from the east, because the impact shows straight in the west. So again, you also watch during the sunset the clouds, that if they lie there and the head is all bending to the south, then you know wind is also in the same way. You know that wind will be coming from the north. If they bend north, you know wind is going to come from the south. So that's how we look in the west. And then again, take into consideration the importance of the color, because if you see those that are like puzzles or collecting, but they're big and they're very low, then you know it's going to be raining very fast, maybe that night or later on, but it's going to rain. But if you see these pieces of puzzles, the clouds with red color, but they're high in the west, then it will be rain for tomorrow or the next day. So this is how we look at the weather to predict. And of course, you also have to watch in the east early in the morning, because you will see like those, as we call it, Ruepeig. And Ruepeig, I think it's, in English word is K. Those the spears that they throw. So you will see that really in the east and keep observing it. Because even when the sun came up, you can still see it, but it's up and it will be changing color. And that's something to be considered. And then again, when the sun set, and you still see that one showing sunset, you know bad weather is coming. So that one we call it Obway. So these are some of the things that, and the most important things is to observe the rising of the stars, the fighting stars in the morning, because it really shows you that bad weather will be coming or good weather will be coming. Because you watch the fighting stars as they rise from the horizon. When they rise, then just stand in your position and put out 2 fingers. We only use 2 fingers. Like on top of the water going up to the horizon. And if that star hide already above the 2nd finger, then stay put, because that star will fight soon. And then it started fighting until you see, when you go out again and look, and it's way above the North Star. Okay, the North Star remains in a position there. It doesn't go very high or go all the way down, but when you see it appear in the evening, it remains in the same position. So that's the measurement we're taking. If a fighting stars come up, it started fighting from here. Bad weather, bad weather, bad weather. And when it's going above the level of the North Star, then you know that, okay, very soon weather will be nice. And it moves a little bit higher above that, you know that, oh, very nice weather. So, but then, be cautious, because the next fighting star is also going to follow. And that's why we always go out to measure how high it is in the morning. Okay, today we're going to talk about 5 topics. Actually, 4 out of these topics, I'm just going to generalize it so you guys understand. And also know that this type of information, it's hardly we really go details on them, because they're very sensitive, and they used to be kept secret by the navigators. There is only time out that we really do the explanation and everything on those topics when we really have somebody learn from us, and when we get their trust, we know they're faithful, they're honest, and all that, then that's when we really give out. But so 4 out of the 5 topics, I will just generalize all of them. Actually, one topic is called lapu-lapu, how we swim the lapu-lapu. The second one is the Bugloa, which is the triggerfish. Third one is the red snapper, and the 4th one is the breadfruit picker. These are the 4 that I will generalize on them. And the last one, I may do some detail on it, so you guys will understand about the stars that fights in its season or at its month. So let's start out from the lapu-lapu. The lapu-lapu that we always have it in navigational talk as we swim it, always start out from the channel in Chu, east of Chu. And then it goes to the other places and back into the channel, and then goes to the southern Chu and then come down all the way to this channel between Yap and Philippines. We call it channel, but it's a big sea lane. So, and then comes up, return from there, stopping at the chiefly places only to to say, as it goes in from one place, it stops at the chieflyman's house to give them something that he carried. All the way to Pulot is the last. That's where this lapu-lapu throw up everything under that rock called Ofaliue inside the lagoon in Pulot. That's where he kept everything in it. So these are actually navigational techniques. It's techniques that are used by navigators. That's how they make the lapu-lapu move. So all these four are just techniques. It's techniques of the navigators when they use. So yeah, the lapu-lapu is focused mainly on channels of every places that it swims to. Now we go to the second one, which is the triggerfish. The triggerfish is known as only 5. The triggerfish are only 5, and it is stars pick out from each island that are in a shape of diamonds. And this is also a technique for the navigators to use in when they comes to this one they call it metaw. Metaw is brothering the sea lanes. So this is also techniques that they use when you sail from one island to one island. Whether you're in one of the triggerfish or you're still out of it, then you don't worry. But once you cross one of the triggerfish, or you're in any part of the triggerfish, then make sure that you concentrate, because if you drift out on a big storm or what, knowing that you already fall out from this triggerfish, and I probably be getting into another one, so make sure you know exactly where you are. So there is a technique for calculation of drifting and how you move from one triggerfish to the other. So that's mainly, I would say, same thing, it's techniques used by navigators. But they're more like these 4 things that I'm talking, generalizing them now, are more like metaphors. It's sort of like metaphors. You see this thing here, but the real meaning is hidden in it somewhere. So that's why I also said that these are techniques used only by navigators. Now the third topic, which is the red snapper. Now this one is a different way of swimming. It's the red snapper just swam from Pulot straight north, straight up east, come back down to the line that he follows out, and then from there straight north, go up east, back down, straight north, go up east. That's all it did. So why they made this one is because they are only talking about, this is from Pulot, the red snapper swims out from Pulot. And the reason why it just goes straight north, up east, back down to the line, and then straight north again. The reason why is because this only includes the sandbars, the banks, the submerged reef that are lining out north of Pulot. So that's why it didn't go anywhere else, but it's only a talk from how the snappers swim from Pulot all the way. Like coming from Pulot on one submerged reef, go up east on another, either a bank or a shoal or a sandbar, and then swim down straight to the first one that came out on, which is submerged reef. Then again straight north on another one. So that's why they only swing this red snapper from pulwat only, because it goes from those submerged reef or sandbars or banks, or so it is talking about only those that came out from pulwat. Now, this is the third one. Now the fourth one is called the breadfruit picker. The breadfruit picker is right in the Ofaliue and the bugoff. It's part of the Ofaliue and bugoff, except that they use the breadfruit picker, like I said, another technique of using the navigational stars between islands, but instead of just talking about it like from Yap to Mulu, you use that. But this one, when you start out, you say that, okay, I point that breadfruit picker from Yap to Mulu under this star, and then I point it to another one. So still the same as the Ofaliue and bugoff, except that it has a hidden meaning in it, because they're using breadfruit picker in it. And so this one, it doesn't go from anywhere else when they use this picker, because they can only use it two breadfruit picker lay out from pulwat, and then another one they lay it from Anen, and the fourth one was laid out from Westfalia, which is Pigado. So this one from the Westfalia is laying down all the way to Sonsorol and back. So it's like when you do the Ofaliue, you're naming star from all these, like Ofaliue, you cut short, make it all Ofaliue only those near you, and you move to that one and you take those near you. But the breadfruit picker, it really stretches out more and then return back from last is Sonsorol and then back up. The breadfruit pickers that lays out from pulwat, and the two from pulwat, it goes southeast and then east and then comes back straight down. The one on Anen is same thing also. It stretches to the southeast and then until it covers those islands. So that is how, that is another way of, another techniques of the navigators. If they want to talk to people and they see these people and they know they are very faithful, no need to just tell them the Ofaliue, but they can just pick one of these breadfruit picker and tell them, okay, let me give you this breadfruit picker that lays from pulwat to this. So it is all up to the navigator. It's because they're all techniques in using navigation. Now we have come to the stormy weather, the stars that fights in each month. As you all know, like us, we start out in November. With the month of November, then the star called Arumoy is the one that fights. Now December, we have the star called Shro that is fighting in December. Shro and then Tumur. There are two in December. And then January, now the star Mworal fights. Mworal and then Mailap fights in January. February, it's the Tapi and Sota that they fight in February. March, it's now the Ping and Lag. That's the one that fight in March. April, it's the Apila and Gemat. Apila is the fin of the big fish. and that's the one that fights in April together with Ping, and also coincide that it's the last wind that we used to sail out way back in it, because it's strong, but it's good because you go faster in it. And then comes May, it's April, and then toward the end of April and the beginning of May, you have the star called Alimato. So that is what fights from the east. All the winds are coming from the it's northeasterly. Now we begin to get into summer, May, June, July. July the wind will be started going variables from side to side or east to west, that July. Then August, the star Man, we call it Man, which is the big bird, will fight in August. So the big bird, followed by each and Iite, the stars below. Sometimes they all connect, it's just as one stormy weather, and then one and finish, if they combine. But if they don't combine, then it depends. If the Man, we receive the storm for Man, the star called Man, and it's very strong, meaning that these two no more, the each and Iite will provide no storm anymore. And so that's August. September, we will have the Bug, we call it Bug, which is the Southern Cross. That's the one that fights in September. So the Bug itself fights from September all the way, and then comes November. Now, but all these stars that I named, they fight from the west. The wind is coming up from the west, starting in August, September, and October. They're all westerly. It comes up. They fight coming up from the west. The wind will be, and then so November again, the wind shifted back up to the northeasterly, because the Armoy at that time is already up. So how we check these storms, the stars, to know when they're going to fight, is you just look in the morning when it breaks down, you will see the star rising, but make sure if you just put two of your fingers together and then put it out on the water and then above, then if the star reaches that height, it's on your second finger, it means it will fight. And it keeps fighting until it levels off with the Polaris, the North Star. When you measure the level, you can see that the storm weather is up there, and it really matches the position of the North Star, but still fighting. And then when it goes above that North Star, then good weather. So that's how we can tell, oh, this one, because it fights over the two measurement fingers all the way up until it goes a little bit up, and goes up all the way to the position of the Polaris, and then when it moves up above the Polaris, then good weather comes. So same as the others. When the Armoy comes up, you check the row and the rest of the stars that I named already fighting in its month. So that's how we know how to tell whether it's going to be what storm is coming and when is it coming, and sort of those things. Now we're going to talk about chants. Chants are so many, and they're being used by us. Usually people who administer local medicine, people who build canoes, people who navigate. they all have chants, different chants. And the chant, I would talk about the chants that are used by navigators. There are chants that are used by the navigators during the voyaging. That is, when they're getting ready to voyage, they have to use those chants in order to take away bad lucks from them, and protect them, and then keep them safe in the open sea. And also, there are chants used by navigators that when somebody is trying, he has something against them, and then the navigators can do it in order to protect themselves. There is chants that we use for untying the mooring line to go out, chant used in paying respect back to the islands. So there's so many chants that navigators are using. But there is a purpose for it. It can only go by what you do. You don't just sing a chant that is not matched to what you're going to do at each time, either during voyaging or out in the open sea, or approaching the island, disembarking your canoe, pulling the canoe up, letting the canoe down in the water. So we have so many of those chants. And I think I can share, I can sing the chants. Some of them I can sing them, but it's hardly I can translate them because they're very deep words, and even some of our elders now cannot even interpret those words. So we keep them, just sing them, and see how we can translate, or how it will come to our mind to know those, what they mean by those. There are chants that are kind of a little bit clear, so we understand. But most chants are very deep words that we cannot do it. So one chant that I'm going to sing now is about when you are to voyage, and how you stand your mast up. So this is the chant you use in making your mast, having your mast go up to stand on the canoe. And we used to do it by getting a young coconut leaf, fix it, and then you go sit at the base of the mast while somebody put it on his shoulder, and then you will tap the base of the mast saying, and then you hold the mast together with the guy and say, "Wow, was sorry." You move it to the place where it stands. Sorry. Then it goes into the stand of the mast. So that's another mast of putting up. And then we have the chant for paying respect back to the island. That is called the Terag. And Terag is if you are using the coconut, you ask one of your crew to cut open, then you stand out on the place called Ramadan from the canoe, and you hold it out, hold the coconut up, then you started singing the chant by saying Etro, tro, tro, etro, tro, tro, etro, paritro, etro, tro, tro, etro, paritro, etro, tro, tro, etro, amistro, etro, tro, tro, etro, amire, hail, fadu, sobu, fara, marfara, hail, fatfat. E poi tu vai mo ngai e ngai duariam. E poteva amor metaw metaw. Ile tiro me apu metaw amor. E amor metaw rap tiro metaw amor. E ngai lai me ngai Oite peri firmu kwe tingang le fir le na le amerre puerto ai kwe wai e ore fario e puerto ai kwe wai e le piede tigo. Then you throw the coconut in the water, then you go out. So that's another sumataw, another chant that we use for paying respect. Now this chant that I'm going to start, one verse of it is the chant that we use when you are out in the open sea and finally you get confused, you don't know where you are anymore, and so you're trying to find land, so you fix all your necessary things like the white coconut leaves, prepare your shell horn, then you move out close to the front, and then you started doing that chant. First you clear your way by pointing them down into the water, then you go like and then you hold those young coconut leaves, then hold your shell horn on this side, then you tap with it, and then that's when you say sugi busugi atauna good. Then you blow from the shell horn, and then another blow. Then you blow, because it has to go along with the rest of the continuation of that chant. It has to be blown 12 times, and 12 times of the singing of the Iite chant. So that is another chant. We still have more, but useless when we cannot translate all these. Okay, this time I'm gonna talk a little, explaining how the po ceremony is and what is the requirements that you can be initiated into the po ceremony, and also how you could move from that level to become a master navigator, and also from master navigator to Grand Master Navigator. I have talked about the same thing in the canoe summit here in Yap 2 years ago or what, and it seems that people don't really understand what I'm saying, or it's just that their arrogance to try to make up things about the po and the requirements, and because some people think that as soon as they become a po, then they are called master navigator, which is totally a lie. It's not true. So po comes from the word Chuki's word of pounding. That's what po is, and it means, because that's why they name it po, is because when the apprentice of a master or a grandmaster taking classes from these masters up to 2 years, 3 years, or even more, and then they believe that they can initiate them into the po ceremony to become in the family of the navigators, and their names are called po. That's it. They are, as soon as you go through the po ceremony, you are called a po. In another word, we call them pairoro, those people. But they are not master yet. They're not master yet. And also, you cannot go in and just attend the po if you don't go through the schools to learn all the navigational things, or even understand the way of wayfinding. You cannot just step in and say that, oh, I will attend the po, because it has to be said out by the master or the grandmaster to his students that he's observing them, and know that they are well required to be initiated into the po ceremony to become navigators. So they are special because we call them po, and they are called po or pairoro, and not master or grandmaster navigator. Now, I have stated very clearly in the summit about how you should, what are the requirements that you, as a student, being under the po ceremony, you should do in order for you to become a master. And so again, I have put them down here so people will understand that if you are to become a master navigator, you have to prove that you can sail and navigate using traditional wayfinding methods on your own without the assistance of your master navigators or teacher. This is number one requirement. Number two, you don't use any modern technology with wayfinding methods. Don't ever hide GPS on board, because you have to really sail without those modern equipment. You just have to do your own way of wayfinding. Number three, you have to know all the pre- and post-voyaging chants, including traditional blessings and traditional medicines, as well as other traditional requirements that navigator must pay attention to, most importantly, the protection. Now, number four, you should know all the traditional techniques used in sailing and traditional techniques for fixing the canoe if something on the canoe breaks out there in the sea, or you capsize or sink, and you have to master those. You should know all of them. Now, number 5, you should at least sail or open at least 7 sea lanes by yourself, not with the help of your master. He's not going to be sitting you on board your canoe, but you will do it yourself to master it, so you can make that the least one is 7. At least you open 7 sea lanes by yourself. Now, number 6, you will be sitting as, in order for you to be a master, you will be learning you will be teaching, you will be able to have apprentice under you that you will continuously teaching them the traditional way of wayfinding. Now, number 7, you should be able to perform the pause ceremony and explain all the different parts of the steps that make up the initiation ritual for traditional navigators. So these are the requirements for you to learn and know by heart, and then we can put you as a master navigator. Now, to move from master navigator to become a grand master navigator, which is lapu-lapu, they are just the seating based of a tree, that everything is in their head and just direct things without any mistakes. So, to become a grand master navigator, you have to learn all those requirements under the master's requirement, plus you should be able to know all medicines that are required for navigators to take, all the protections for you and your crew out there and before sailing out of a place. And then, like I said, you will be directing masters under you, advising them on what to do, to teach, and make sure that everyone really pay attention to what you are doing as a grand master, what you are doing. And of course, they just teach always. You should be able to do that without even thinking on what is this and what is that. And okay, and now another one, in order for you to become a grand master, is you will know everything, and will be able to sail more sea lanes, more than the 7, going up all the way. That is a lot of sea lanes that you have been experiencing by yourself, and sail all of them. So that's how you should earn the title of Grand Master Navigator. And from there, you will just sit as a base of a tree on the canoe or on the land, because even masters also have to come to you in getting information and help them with what they're still missing out in their title. And then lastly, a grandmaster should know how to conduct the pause ceremony. Usually this is what happened. The reason why people are started making up, just all make up pause, is because when they enter the pause ceremony, as soon as they finish, the master already initiated them, and then they just left and forgot to come back to the master or grandmaster to ask, what should I do in order for me to learn to become a taupo or a master po, a master of po? They don't ask, because that it requires measurements, it requires calculation, it requires chants, and everything has to go in line from the beginning, following the steps all the way to the end. You don't have to make a mistake changing places of each chant or what you do until closing of your underground oven. That's when you do the closing, and then that's it. You're done. So you will become a grandmaster navigator, and you're also called a taupo, which is master of po. And then that's it. That's all. But I don't know how. Plenty explanations and different way of doing po. That's all nothing to me. I feel very bad about it every time I observe one. It doesn't look good to me, because you don't have to lie. Once you lie or make a mistake, this thing fire back, because you're working toward the sacred bowl, the food of Yaduda. That's what you're trying to do, not to get caught with the ghost of the bowl and the master of the bowl, who are called Yaduda and Luguelam, which is interpreted as God, the high God that we do all these prayer to them, chants and whatever. So this is my explanation, and I hope I am clear, so people will know exactly what it is or how it is, but not to differentiate the things that I'm saying. Because I know I have watched every single po, but they're not authentic. Because things keep changing in it, and makeup and so many things. No measurement, no calculations, and no taboos, no assignment for who and who is doing something. Because we have names for all that thing. So this is how my explanation is with this po ceremony. You cannot just make up your own po and lie to people or the world, because it will be very shame on our part. And so I would ask the people that they don't know all this to please don't be ashamed. Come up and ask some of us who are still holding these knowledges, because we can give you. But if you just sit there and pretend that you know everything, and then you go ahead yourself and do it, I'm sorry, you're not doing it the right way. So that's my only message on the po, because I want everybody to be more clear on the things that we do with the po ceremony.